Hello, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Done.
Not a roll call vote, a roll call, excuse me.
Call to order. Trustee Donnersberger.
Here.
Trustee Eck.
Present.
Yeah. Okay. Trustee Farrell Mayer.
Here.
Trustee Kennedy.
Present.
Trustee Metz.
Here.
And Trustee O'Loughlin.
Here.
And Mayor Henshaw.
Thank you. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. We have agendas up front, but I think everybody got one. First on our agenda is the mayor's report. And for the sidewalk master plan, we have 4 areas in the village. One is Acacia Drive, and the southern section of Acacia Drive, the sidewalk will be done, should be by November 1st. And then the northern half of that will be done next year. Both Plainfield Road and Wolf Road are in the Phase 1 study, and both are county roads. For Wolf Road, we should have alternatives in the early 2022 for resident review and comments. And then lastly, Joliet Road, we're working with our legislators and the village of Countryside for sidewalk on both sides of Joliet Road. Next up is Acacia Drive update. Like I mentioned a moment ago, the southern section of Acacia Drive should be done by November 1st, or roughly that time frame. It'll be done other than the last 2 inches of the finish layer, and then of course landscaping will be done next season. 294 update, the on-ramp from Joliet Road to 294 North is expected to be completed in November. And then again, the construction in Indian Head Park will last several years for the tollway. And one note, again, I want to remind everybody that the southern half of the sound wall between Joliet and Plainfield Road will be constructed next summer. Next Tuesday, there will be a senior breakfast with Police Chief Stelter, Village Administrator DeRocher, and myself. We'll be hosting a senior citizen breakfast at Wilshire Green Clubhouse. That's at 115 Acacia Drive. We will provide updates on what's going on in the village and answer questions. And then at the end of the month, on Saturday the 30th, there will be a coffee and donuts with the mayor at the Heritage Center. That is again Saturday the 30th, 9 to 11. And then lastly, I would ask that any resident with an issue, complaint, or a compliment go to our website. You can open a ticket or compliment ticket, and you can get updates as the ticket is addressed. It's a great way to hear from the staff. And that is it for me. So with that, we go to public comments. Anybody here wish to make a public comment? Okay, we'll move along to the consent agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as established.
I shall second it.
Thank you, Sean and Brenda. Any questions or comments?
Would you like a financial report?
Yes, please.
Before we do that, Mayor, can I ask one question for clarification on the senior breakfast on October 19th? How will people get to that? Is the entrance closed right now to the road, or is it open?
It's open right next to Village Hall, so the northern entrance to Wilshire Green is open.
But the actual clubhouse parking lot entrance, that's available to be accessed?
Through the northern entrance, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that northern entrance works for Acacia Circle, so you can go all around the Wilshire Green complex.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have to be a senior to attend?
That was our intent, yes.
Can I ask, is this the first year for this, or is this an annual event?
This is the first year. Chief Stelter set this up, so we're going to give it a shot.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, financial update?
Sure. Cash on hand at the end of August 31st, or on August 31st, 2021, was just a little over $3 million, $3,025,000. Total for all warrants for the month of September came to $288,496. Total revenues, $714,000. And our ending balance as of September 30th was $3.4 million. Far cry from what it used to be.
Thank you. We also have closed session meeting minutes retained. John, is that something that you could explain what that is, please?
Twice a year, the village board is required to review closed session minutes, and we do this by topic. And after review and consultation with the village attorney, the board is retaining a series of minutes. It's in the board packet along with the title and date of the meeting minutes. So we will be retaining these as confidential until the board decides otherwise.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments from the board? I don't see any. Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Mitz.
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
And Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Thank you.
That has been approved. Thank you, everybody. First item under new business is the acceptance of the 2021 annual audit and management letter. John?
I'd like to, can I make a motion?
Sure.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the 2020/2021 annual audit management letter.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Chris and Brenda. Okay, now, John?
As I told you, every year at this time, it is my opinion that the audit is the most important document we generate in any given year. It's a review by an outside firm, qualified firm, as to the accuracy and integrity of the reports that we give you on a monthly basis. So when Helia and I, or especially Helia, generates a report, you can be assured that the numbers are accurate, that we are spending the money according to the budget and according to our policies and according to the law. It is a report on to you about the financial integrity of the village and how we are conducting our business. And I am pleased to say that we have an unqualified opinion, meaning there are no buts in the audit. It's a clean bill of health, so to speak. And staff works very hard to make sure that we are upholding the integrity standards that you set for us. And so I am pleased to say it's a very good audit and we're doing extremely well. Sikich is our auditing firm. They are probably the finest auditing firm in the state of Illinois. We've used them for a number of years. Nick Bava is representing the firm. He was the audit lead, and he is here to tell you certain aspects of the audit that is required by law. So, Nick?
Excuse me, please, sir, there's copies, if anybody needs a copy.
Good evening. My name is Nick Bava, and as John mentioned, I'm a senior audit manager with Sikich, and I'd like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and then the rest of the board for having me here tonight to present the results of the audit for the village's fiscal year ended April 30th, 2021. As part of the village's audit, we issue 3 separate reports. The largest in front of you is the annual financial report. That is the audit document. We also issue the auditor's communication to the Board of Trustees and Management, as well as assisting in the electronic filing of the annual financial report that's required by the comptroller's website. I'll briefly cover and highlight some items and some statements out of the annual financial report, but would be happy to address or answer any questions the board might have tonight on any of the documents in front of them. So for those following along, I'd like to start on pages 1, 2, and 3. Pages 1, 2, and 3 of the annual financial report are titled the Independent Auditor's Report. These 3 pages, as John alluded to, are the 3 most important pages in this report in that they document and articulate that the village has a clean and unmodified opinion and that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. Going through a few of these sections, the second paragraph down, titled Management's Responsibility for those financial statements, articulates that it is indeed management's and the finance department's responsibility for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with the law, in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The following paragraph, the auditor's responsibilities paragraph, documents that it's our job as the village auditors to obtain an opinion on these financial statements based on tests and procedures that are performed in accordance with the law, and that law is generally accepted auditing standards. So if we flip to the next page, page 2, the top of that page documents the opinions paragraph. And I'm pleased to report that based on our procedures and testing, we believe that the financial statements tonight present fairly in all material respects the village's governmental activities, business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the village as of April 30th, 2021. As John alluded to, that is referred to as an unmodified opinion. It is a clean opinion, and it is the highest level of assurance that we can provide the village as an auditor for the annual audit that took place. So we commend the village and congratulate the folks involved, the finance department, John, for all of their help throughout the process. Shifting a few pages ahead, you'll find a section that's titled Management's Discussion and Analysis. It starts on page MD&A 1, and it goes to page MD&A 13. If there is one section I recommend that the board read through, it'd be these 13 pages. It's a very well put and well documented discussion and analysis. And what it does is it provides the reader or the user an opportunity to see some context or some underlying reason as to what has occurred in fiscal year 21 as well as what has changed from the previous fiscal year. As we all know, this statement and this report includes a lot of different financial statement schedules, numbers, changes in fund balances and cash flows. Like I mentioned, these 13 pages provide great context in terms of what has changed, and it's a very well put together document. This is prepared by Helia and John, and it is also reviewed by us as the auditors to ensure it's consistent with financial statements as well as the accounting principles set here in the United States. So as we move into the actual financial statements themselves, I'd like to start on pages 5 and 6. And that statement is called the Statement of Activities. This is what is referred to as the long-term income statement for the village. It covers both the governmental activities as well as the business type activities. So the general fund, motor fuel tax fund, as well as the water sewer fund. And what's important to know about this statement is that it is the long-term perspective for the village's financial position. So unlike the rest of the statements moving forward, this statement is recorded on the full accrual basis of accounting, where it includes all of the long-term activities such as capital assets, long-term debt, the bonds payable, and debt certificates outstanding, as well as any pension activity for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. So real quick, towards the bottom of page 6, I just wanted to note that there was a positive change in net position of about $900,000 during this most recent fiscal year. And when you peel back the layers on that, you can primarily point to the fact that the village has continued to pay down the principal on the bonds payable and debt certificates payable, as well as there were favorable changes in the net pension liability for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund plan that the village participates in. Shifting to the next 2 pages, the next 2 pages get into the fund accounting perspective of the financial statements, and this is the governmental funds balance sheet. What differs from the statement I just discussed is that this is recorded on the modified accrual basis of accounting and gives you a short-term perspective of how the funds are operating, and it doesn't extend beyond 1 year. So it excludes those capital assets, the long-term debt, and the pension activity that, as we know, extends well beyond 1 year. The 2 pieces I would like to point out on this statement start on page 7. The top right of page 7 shows the total governmental funds cash position of $1.45 million. I just wanted to note that that position is up from about $200,000 in comparison to the previous fiscal year audit, and you can really primarily point to that increase being related to the Rebuild Illinois bond money that came in from the state that is restricted in the motor fuel tax fund. I'll show you also how that change impacts the change in fund balance, but that's really primarily the reason for the large increase within the governmental funds. On the bottom of page 8, the general fund column has a total fund balance of $1.538 million. Of that $1.538 million, there is an unassigned unrestricted position of $1.449 million. That represents the, for lack of a better term, the unrestricted fund balance that the village and the board has to utilize at their discretion when the time arises. What a really good metric to look at this number is compare it to the expenditures that were paid and incurred in this respective fiscal year within the general fund. So when we look at this 1.49 million and compare it to the expenditures out of the general fund, this reserve represents right around 57% of what was spent in the most recent fiscal year. I'd like to say from a municipal standpoint, a usual benchmark is right around 25%. So this represents a very healthy reserve, and I want to commend management for maintaining such fiscal responsibility in terms of keeping a healthy reserve should that need to be accessed at any point. A few pages ahead, on pages 10 and 11, this is the income statement for the governmental funds. Again, this covers the general fund, motor fuel tax fund, capital projects fund, debt service fund. I just wanted to point out that overall fund balance increased just above $200,000 to $2.2 million. If you take out the increase in the motor fuel tax of $146,000, primarily due to those Rebuild Illinois funds, the governmental funds essentially operated at more or less of a break-even year, which is generally what the village budgets for and shoots for. So I just wanted to point out that change was a positive one in the fiscal year. The last section I will point out is a handful of pages ahead, and this is on pages 47 and 48. Pages 47 and 48 are the schedule of changes in the net pension liability for the village's participation in the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. Dating back to about 6 years ago, reporting standards required that local government disclose and report on the face of their financial statements pension liabilities for whatever pension plans they participate in. For the Village of Indian Head Park, IMRF is that pension plan. When we look at the far right column on page 48, the most recent measurement date from an actuary standpoint was 2020. And when we look at the change in the net pension liability compared to the previous measurement date, it sits at right around $500,000, which is about a $600,000 decrease from the previous measurement. What's most important out of that column, the 2020 column, is the percentage right below that, which shows 95%. That is the planned fiduciary net position set aside to fund the village's retirement liability. This is a very healthy funded status, and it's really indicative of the fact that management has continued to fund that plan on a monthly and annual basis based on what the actuary recommends. These numbers are volatile, and every year as the market shifts, as actuarial assumptions change and realities change, you can see that this schedule has had swings from 2015 to 2020. But most importantly, right here, right now, a liability of $500,000 with a 95% funded status is very healthy and something to hang your hat on. So that concludes what I'd like to cover from a statement standpoint. Overall, just to have a wrap-up comment and kind of echo what John mentioned earlier, I want to say that the village, particularly John and Helia, who we spend a lot of our time working with, do a really fantastic job of monitoring the finances, maintaining their records, and really upholding the entire control environment that the village has worked so hard to structure and maintain. All of these things culminate into making sure that that runs a very smooth and effective audit, which I can say, having worked with the village the last few years, we've constantly been able to do that. So I would just like to extend my thanks and gratitude to John and Helia for all of the help. They do a fantastic job, and I think that that's shown here as part of this year's audit. So again, thank you to the board, to the mayor for having me here tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
And you're free to sneak out. You don't have to stay.
He has a newborn. Or his wife does.
Okay, next up is a sorry.
We need a vote on that motion.
Yes, sorry. Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please? Good night.
Trustee Metz
Aye.
and Trustee O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayer.
Aye.
And Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
All right, that's a pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for trying to speed things along. Okay, next is the smoke signals discussion and potential budget adjustment.
Yes, I'm making a motion to amend the annual budget, increasing the line from the smoke signals from $12,000 to $40,000.
Is there a thank you, Eileen, Rita and Eileen.
And I'm bringing this before the board. We met, the Communications Committee met, and it was the committee's agreement that, or wish, that the smoke signals increase from a quarterly publication to a monthly publication. And as I understand it from John and the figures he gave us, that's going to require an increase in the budget. We also would like to bring back the old practice of including minutes as part of the smoke signals publication. And we're working on summarizing that because our minutes are usually quite long from our meetings. So the way I'm looking at this is I'd ask the board to consider this for perhaps the next 8 months to allow us to keep doing this, to give a runway to the residents and let them know that after that period of time, it will be online because of the cost of the publication and that so many people are online and that's how they receive their notices and their communications. And it's been our wish as a village to get more and more residents to sign up online and for our website. So that basically is it in a nutshell, what we'd like to do. And the reason I'm saying this is that I don't think in the past it's ever been stated in the smoke signals that after a certain period of time, this will be only available online. And I think if we keep putting that in every publication and letting residents know that that's what's going to be happening, it will give them enough lead time to make arrangements. And I also think we could always have a limited number of paper copies available at the village hall if someone wants to stop by and pick one up. So that's where we're coming from with that, and I'm asking the board for that increase.
I'm not sure I understand. You want to increase the number of publications now with the intent of having fewer later?
Right, well, at this point,
Printed ones,
printed ones now for, say, November, December, and then maybe starting in January, a 6-month period, that we'd have 6 months of that publication, but notifying the residents that after this period of time, that this is costly to the village and that we're going to go online and it will be available online. I don't think we've ever done that before, and really let people know if you want to continue to receive this or read it, you would go and see it online.
I mean, we make it so easy for people to get information. We do send out quarterly smoke signals. We have these meetings on Facebook Live and YouTube, I think, is that right? We have our website, which has all the information there. And plus, content is really hard to come by for smoke signals. The last issue we received was dated before we even got it. There were events that had already passed that were mentioned in it as coming up. I'm against spending more money on that publication since everything is available online. And plus the content is so hard. How would you anticipate coming up with enough content on a monthly basis?
Well, the members of the committee were, we've got 4 members now, and our intent was to, ask residents for content, ask trustees for content. And I think a big part of this, Chris, is that one of the big complaints we had is that seniors, many of them are not online. And so they're not getting the notification. And, you're here every month just like I am. And what do we hear over and over? I didn't know anything about this. And I agree with you completely. It's all out there. But I think that's what was one of the things that one of the members of the committee was very adamant about, was that the seniors don't get it. And that this is one way to make sure that they do. And my mom's 89. She's online. So I know that many seniors are, but that was one of the considerations we looked at.
And as a member of the committee, I'd like to add, Rita's done a really tremendous job of trying to improve smoke signals. I don't know if you've noticed, I did in the last edition, and I wasn't expecting it. It's much better laid out, so it's easier to read. They are aggressively looking for content, and there's that new lady that's agreed to spearhead it. I can't think of her name.
On the committee?
On the committee, yeah.
Is your microphone on, Rita?
Susan French?
Yes.
Yes.
And she's working really hard to get content. So I think it's a nice time to jumpstart smoke signals, to get people to look at it more frequently. It's going to be once a month. And then, as Rita said, over time, we're trying to get the residents to understand, okay, this is not going to last forever. We want you to go online to get this information. But it'll be in their mailboxes every month. There'll be more interesting content. It'll be easier to read.
What, I'm skeptical, and I just wonder what makes you think that, since they don't necessarily read it now, or they don't pay attention to anything that's available to them now, why, if there's more issues coming out, are they going to pay attention?
I think it's going to be better content, too.
How about if we improve the quarterly issues and go from there? And if we see that it's justified, let's do it. But to increase up to $40,000, was that the figure?
Yes.
I think
Just
is,
for a short time.
well, I understand, but I don't.
Yeah, it's still.
I think it's 40,000 that isn't
Yeah.
necessary to spend.
So it's an increase of 28,000. I mean, if we're really, it's not that we're spending 40, it's an increase of 28, because we've already got 12 budgeted. All right, so let me ask, because I'm tending
Is
to.
your microphone on? I just want to
Yeah,
make
it is.
sure everybody has.
If I'm not
microphone.
speaking into it, I apologize. So we have heard the same issues, that they didn't get the content, either electronically, smoke signals. We have heard residents that have stood here and said that they don't read it, that they throw it in the trash can right away. And just so I understand, we're increasing it for this year, the remainder of this year, with the idea to decrease it over time through more social media, electronic. Have we thought at all about signage? Something permanent, electronic, like what Highlands has or what other schools might have out in front of the Heritage Center, that would be a one-time cost? We could eliminate the $12,000 per year in smoke signals altogether. Because I think the issues that people are upset about are occasionally, and they're big issues. Something that a sign could promote all month long, that, hey, sidewalk project on Acacia Drive, don't forget, these are the dates. I don't know about the elderly people not getting emails or being on electron, but I'm guessing they're still getting out in the community, that if they're not driving, somebody's driving them. How much of our community would go by the Heritage Center and see a sign and get the content that they need? A couple years ago, for board goals, I had brought up signage, and I looked into it. We're talking, like, what we're spending here on a year that we're talking about is far less than that for a sign. And I think that might check the boxes more so than more paper content going out that, as Chris said, and I agree with, people might not just get and read anyway. So I don't know if the communication committee had thought about that as an option at all.
No, we hadn't, and part of it was, it's not, I don't know how you would communicate on a sign that the board's going to be voting on this issue, or what was discussed at a village board meeting on a sign. I think that would be difficult.
It's an LED sign. It's like a TV screen, and you just have board meeting this date, we're voting on this topic, and it's just a scroll, like you would see at Highlands, that they're promoting their board meeting or their girls' volleyball game on Thursday night. People that drive by, you have 2 or 3 things that are constantly repeating. People are going to see those over the course of the next month by the time the next board meeting happens.
Personally, I dislike the idea of the sign more than I dislike the idea of increasing the issues, because who's going to want that in their front yard?
Yeah,
It's not in anybody's front yard, it's in front of the Heritage Center.
But I think it's a separate issue than increasing the number of issues of the smoke signals.
But I'm talking about if we're raising dollars to get communication out. My point is, I think that the smoke signals is the most archaic way to do it, that we should be progressive in ways to get that content. And if the pushback is the section of our community is not online to get that, is that another viable alternative for them to pass by a sign once a day, twice a day for the entire month? They're going to get that content. So it checks the boxes of the issues that we're having, and we take care of actually money coming back into the coffers, because we're not having to continue to print smoke signals every year going forward for $12,000 plus.
But we're not talking about every year printing smoke signals. What the committee is envisioning is that for the next 6 or 8 months, we publish it and just pound home to them that you're not going to get this anymore. You've got to go online to get this. And then the costs will go away completely.
Can I ask a question of the committee? I think, Rita, years ago, we thought it would be great to get it online, electronically. And I know, Eileen, when you started on the board, you aggressively sought to get people to sign up, because I think once we post something on the website, anybody who signed up could get that article, and maybe the need for smoke signals goes away, because when the agenda is posted, if you're signed up, you would receive that notice that it's signed up. So I think the frustration, or maybe frustration is the wrong word, I don't know how we get to the right answer, but checking our subscriber count, we only have 181 emails signed up for community news. And I know you gave a run at it, and you got a few people, and I know we've talked about it. How do we, if we're going to get rid of smoke signals, and I guess put it online, maybe we just have it on the website and you go look at it. But I think if everybody signed up and they said, I'm interested in finance, or I'm interested in the board meetings, they could get those updates. So how do we get more people signed up on the website? That's a question. And maybe we don't if we're just going to post things on the website and people go look.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, it would be great to get everybody to sign up, but obviously we haven't had much success with that. But if people will just look at the website and see and smoke signals is posted, they don't have to sign up to do that. They can just go on the website and read it. And that's what we're talking about. And I think that's what we would, as Eileen said, we would just pound home every month. That,
Whether we have it on paper, we have it on the website, social media, wherever, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. And we could provide this available every which way. We can send it to everybody's door. We can knock on their door. Nobody has to pay attention if they don't want to pay attention. And a lot of people choose not to pay attention. Some do, and that's terrific, and they know where to get the information. The people that aren't on computers and stuff, once we go online, they're still not going to get the information if they don't want to take the effort to do that. So I guess it's going to be incumbent on people who need information to ask their neighbors, I guess, if they can't use a computer. But increasing the number of smoke signals just doesn't seem like it's going to achieve your objective, and it's going to end up costing us an extra $28,000 that isn't going to get us anywhere.
Yeah, Chris, if we can argue about where a sign may go, other than the Heritage Center, does a sign check all the other boxes, though? Because now you have the information getting out there that people don't have to go someplace and look for it. It's there as they pass by. They see it. I don't know what the numbers are in the community, but I'm going to guess a large portion of the residents in this community go up and down Wolf Road at least daily, where they would see it. And if it's on the corner of Joliet and Wolf, or at the corner of Plainfield and Wolf, they're going to pass by it. They don't have to, because part of the problem I'm seeing, I'm on the other side. I am on social media and things. I've got emails coming at me for 3 kids, for school, for sports. I have emails for this. I have my personal. I have my work. I don't want anybody else sending me any more information. I've got more than I can handle as it is. But if I drive by and I see board meeting voting on this a couple times a week, it's eventually going to register in my head. I'm going to see it.
I think you just made a good point. If you're driving past it quite a few times a day. I know there's been times that there's been a sign out front of the Heritage Center advertising whatever, and I don't see it because I'm always turning right out of my subdivision. And so some people don't go past there. So we're only hitting a limited audience that way.
Yeah, but you're telling me you never travel north on Wolf Road in
No,
an entire month?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying there have been occasions where, yeah, every day I'm traveling south and I'm not going north. And there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily going to. So yes, you're going to hit people, but you're not going to hit them all. And you can only show so much before they keep on driving by. It's good for a really real quick
I'd like to
headline.
make a comment. I look at this as the Communications Committee is looking to enhance communication within Indian Head Park. It's not going to be perfect. Plus, it's going to be transitional, and this is one step. And if they have the gumption and the volunteers to try and do this on a monthly basis, it's worth a try. And we may end up with a sign at the Heritage Center or at Plainfield and Wolf. That could be a possible transition item on this, but for now and for what they're looking to do, sounds to me like you've got some volunteers who are lifting their hand and saying, we want to improve communications and we want to give this a shot.
Yeah, we've had people volunteer for the smoke signals in the past, and somehow they haven't always come through. Rita has had a lot of difficulty with it throughout the years, and I would like to see them prove that they have enough content before committing to anything. I mean, like I said, the last issue that came out was dated before it even came out.
Well, I think there's also been some great information about what's going on in the village in the last issue, what's going on with the police department. There's been a lot of other articles, I think, that are very informative and provide information. So I don't know what you mean by proof. Are you saying month by month? I'm not quite sure I follow that. But we are making our best effort to improve it, and also the minutes of the meetings, which have not been part of that for years and used to be. So I think that gives people who maybe don't have the opportunity to watch the TV show or the video or to read through and see what's been going on.
And I think that we can take some of the suggestions here tonight and move with them at the communications subcommittee in terms of maybe every month making it very clear, you've got X number of months before you're not going to get this anymore. If you want to get it, sign up. And that might be another way to get people to sign up and get their emails.
It might, and it might not.
It might not, right, but it's worth a try.
Keep your
At least we can say that we've tried. So if people come here and say, you're not communicating, we've got empirical data that says we did.
Okay, other questions or comments? Are we ready for a vote? Sounds like we are. Roll call vote, please, Clerk Allison.
Okay. I'd like to ask who seconded this motion.
Eileen.
Trustee Donnersberger.
Okay, thank you. All right. Trustee Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
And Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy.
No.
Okay. And Trustee Metz.
No.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
No.
Mayor, you have to vote.
Aye. Okay, that has been approved. Thank you. Next item up is security cameras. John?
You have in your board packet the draft bid specification for security cameras. I'm going to defer to the police department because I think the board has some technical questions about the process, the type of camera we're ultimately looking at, placement in the village. One thing I do want to mention specifically to the board is this is a unit price, so if the pricing comes in fabulous, we can get more cameras than we might otherwise think we could. If the pricing comes in really high, we can shave back to meet the financial, the budget in the village. So there is a great deal of flexibility in the number of cameras that we have. Also, there is an option for internal cameras. We're really not considering that. I just need that for future budgeting purposes. So, and the other thing is, if you would look at the ranking criteria, if you want me to change that at all, just kind of let me know. That's just a suggestion on my part. So without further ado, Chief Stelter and Deputy Chief Kernick will provide some information for you.
John, as they're coming up, do you know what the current budget is for the cameras right now?
$85,000.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, 85,000?
85.
Thank you.
And again, to remind everybody, that when we set the goal, we had to pick a number kind of out of the air. So, always when we get more information, it can go up or go down. But that's what we have in the budget. Sorry, guys.
Is it my turn to speak?
Yes, sir.
I don't know what I'm talking about because As far as I know, as far as the status of the cameras, we're waiting to see for the bid package, but me personally, I'm waiting to see if the memorandums of understanding were approved, because we got 3 vendors that want to put out temporary cameras.
I'm waiting for
So we can
the
test
board to
them.
I'm waiting for the board to give us guidance. I have the memorandum of understanding. What happens is we're going to have camera companies give us samples, and they want an understanding that we're going to pay for the cameras if they get stolen or whatever. So I'm waiting for the bid spec to be on the street, and then we will start receiving the sample cameras.
I have a couple questions on that. Can I ask those questions now?
Sure.
Okay. In regards to placement of cameras, should we do them all at once or eventually? I'd mentioned that there was cameras at the ingress and egress of I-294.
I think we were talking about the test cameras. I don't think we've got into,
The RFP?
correct. So I think Steve started out saying he was looking for the approval of the test, and then John answered that. So I thought your question was about that. If you can hold off, it sounds like yours is on the RFP.
Yeah.
If you can,
That's really what I'm more interested in. Once we kind of approve the RFP, then we can start looking at the memorandums of protection for them loaning us cameras.
no, I'm with you. We started with the RFP, and then Steve had a question on the test cameras, so we took a little tangent. And so Charlie, we got to that tangent. I think we're wrapped that up. So Steve, did you get the answer that you asked?
No. No.
I have a question on process. Would that be a good place to start?
Well, hold on.
I
So
guess, I'm sorry.
You were looking for a status of
I
the
guess what
test
I'm, yeah,
systems.
I guess where we're at right now is I'm waiting to get the go-ahead to have the vendors put out these temporary cameras, while in the meantime, the bid and everything goes out, and then they will be submitting their bids while we still have the test cameras out there.
And I think John's answer was he was waiting to get the RFP out on the street, and then you would look at the
The test cameras.
test cameras.
The samples that the vendors sent us for the security are fine, and that I will sign off on.
What?
So when a vendor is going to give us cameras to test, they want to promise that if they get stolen, we're going to pay for them. Or if they get damaged, we're going to pay for them.
It's just a memorandum of understanding between the two, between the
So
village and the
That's
vendor.
my question on process. How can you even go there? I mean, I'd like to know, I don't know technology, so I don't understand all that stuff, but what I want to know is, what kind of research have we done? What departments have we talked to? Do we know what the state of the art is? And where does this RFP come in to meet the state of the art? I don't understand any of that. I don't understand why we'd put cameras on the street before we even have an RFP.
Well,
I
again,
don't-
these are test cameras, so they're
I get
not
that, but
final
we don't-
installation. So when you put a test camera up, you get to see how it operates. You get to see the software on the back end. So you learn some stuff by doing it.
And
I know the chief and staff, and Brenda has been out to other communities who have cameras. I know they've done research on what camera technologies. We've had vendors in, so there has been some background to get us to this point.
I'd like to understand what that background was.
In this,
Well, they all have their own technology and cameras. That's why we want to get these sample cameras out here, so we can see exactly what they have. We've been to Hinsdale Police Department to look at their camera program. I've spoken with Burr Ridge about their camera program. Mike and I have been to Countryside to check into their camera programs as well. They have a couple of different vendors. There's different names for the vendors, like Flock, there's Minuteman, there's Proven IT. So the 3 towns have a couple of different vendors. Hinsdale and Burr Ridge have Flock. Mike has spoken to a couple departments that have test cameras out right now with Flock and other cameras, and we're getting good feedback and bad feedback. So that's why we want to get these people out here to put up their cameras and then show us exactly what they have, and then that will help us make a better decision when the bids come in, and we want to go with the vendor that we want to, go with.
Are we giving them a step up over those people that might not be putting test cameras out?
No, not at all. Everybody that put in a proposal to us in a bid has been offered the opportunity to give us sample cameras to put out, and all but one will be able to.
But we haven't put out a bid yet, so.
Well, we don't need a bid to put the test cameras out. That's not even necessary. We can put the test cameras out anytime we want.
And as far as the technical specs, I looked at what other departments are doing, and the technical spec is in the bid document. In fact, we want to have a camera that's sufficient that you can read a license plate either at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m., traveling at 45 miles an hour, either towards you or away from you, or away from the camera, so that we can capture the vehicle and the license plate.
Yeah, but my understanding always was that we were going to do testing cameras, just so that way we would have the information and the knowledge as far as their systems and how they work before they even went out for bid. And that I thought that we were going to move ahead with that right away. And I thought Pat was reviewing as far as the information that, like Flock and Vigilant and that we're sending over, so that way we could test the cameras to see what we wanted and to move forward that way. I didn't think
I've
we
got
were
a set
just-
of cameras in my office for 3 weeks, and I'm waiting to be able to put them out.
Yes.
What Flock had sent us was a purchase agreement, and that is not acceptable. What we want is an
Okay,
agreement saying
if-
that we're
if-
going to test.
If that's the case, then did you send anything back to them so that way they
I did tell
could?
Flock that, and that they would be getting something from us directly, and I was waiting for the board meeting to send that out.
Because when I talked to Flock, they said they were sending something out, so that's why I'm really confused with
No, what they
what's
sent out
happening here.
was a purchase agreement.
Why no initially?
Wait a minute,
but-
I don't mean to interrupt, but I do have John, I do have a memorandum of understanding here from Flock in regards to the cameras that were sent out. I got one from Flock. I got one from Proven. I got one, I believe, from Minuteman. And I think, Pat, did you get all those? No. So,
So while you're looking at that, I'm just trying to understand this in my mind. Maybe our attorney can help me. So we're allowing certain people to put out test cameras, even though we haven't issued the RFP. So say 3 people put them out. We get 10 responses to the RFP. What about those other 7 people that haven't put out cameras? Are they at a disadvantage?
The RFQ allows for companies to submit if they want, and then we will, if they don't submit, then they're really not going to be considered. And that's
Well,
in the
yeah,
RFQ.
yeah, but I'm saying, ahead
What
of the
did the-
fact, we're letting these people put out the cameras. So I'm assuming we're going to get bids from them.
Well, and that's one of the things yes, you can assume that.
Mm-hmm.
But I really wanted to hold off on putting the cameras out until the RFQ was approved. Because
Got
if the
it.
board decides to kill the project, then it's pointless.
Once it's issued,
Right.
then they can,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
and Eileen, there's not that many, I mean, I know you're giving a number, but there's not that many vendors. We've pretty much
No, I'm just pulling them
reached out to the majority of the vendors, and actually one vendor has backed out and they've quit dealing with us. So, but
vendor is
pretty
that?
much,
Yeah, who
you know what,
backed
I
out?
keep, we've been dealing with so much. It was the very first one that we ever contacted. It was,
Vercada?
no, Vercada's proven.
Okay.
I can't remember the name, what it was. It was back months and months ago, and they kind
but
of
it's-
came out with, Mike is dealing with them for the most part, and I don't know what the heck happened, but I forgot their names.
So it's not one of the bigger ones that we
No,
were-
not any of the ones we're dealing with right now.
John, correct me if I'm wrong, but looking at the RFP that you proposed, you have metrics for scoring
Correct.
the different companies, and one of the metrics is whether or not they've done a test camera. Is that correct?
I am looking now.
I don't believe so.
System capabilities, experience, installation capability. No, that's not in the criteria.
Okay. So it won't affect their score whether they have cameras or not,
So can I talk
have
about the
done a test
RFP now?
test or not.
Sure, Charlie.
Two technical items before I turn this over to Brenda with some of her comments on this. One was, John, you mentioned 45 miles an hour. I've been down Joliet Road doing,
70, 80? Do you
I've
happen to
been-
know
I've
the
been
date
pa-
you
I've
did
been
that
past-
and the time?
got two
by any
law
chance, or-
I've been past lickety split. And I'm wondering if 45 is enough, and I
Well,
wanted
that,
to I wanted to ask. the-
actually, I think John put that in there, but you know what, most of the cameras will get it capture up to at least 65 miles an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and the second technical point was they listed 17 spots, and we identified 2 others that might be of interest, and just
Yep.
wanted those to be considered, and that was the ingress and egress off of I-294 onto Wolf Road.
Actually, Mike and I today went out and we toured the town again, because back when we originally did this, you know, I've been running my mind in the cameras and the positioning. I thought, you know what? Because we were kind of, back when we first did it, we weren't so informed as we are today. And for one point was I didn't realize one camera only captures one lane. So therefore, we went out and rather than having 4 or 6 cameras at an intersection, we've kind of named a few different locations. For instance, Wolf and Joliet here, rather than have them right at the intersection, we want to position cameras a little bit north and a little bit south where it's only 2 lanes before it opens up into the 5 lanes or 4 lanes with the left turn lane and everything. We want to move them back so we capture 2 lanes so we still get all the cars that are coming that way. So we're in the same general area, but we've moved them a little bit, and we've identified 18 cameras that we believe will capture the entire town for the cars going through, which I'll be happy to share. I've got a map with my little red circles on it where I'd want to put them, and I'd be happy to share it with any of you if you want me to email it to you.
Well, that sounds like once they start letting us look at their cameras, that we'll have an opportunity to refine.
Correct. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Location
Absolutely.
on
And they'll
that.
have to, you know, the vendors too will pick, you know, this is where we want to have them, what do you think? But then they'll say, well, you know, we need to put them here, we need to do that.
Brenda, when you were talking to the other police departments, did any of these technical issues come up in their acceptance of cameras in their villages?
Right, I mean, a lot of them use Vigilant and Flock and that, and what they said that, what they've learned over the years in that is that they will get a few cameras, and then they might tweak them, because maybe where they want to put the other cameras maybe not be the same type that they need at those particular areas. And that, so they says, don't go in there and don't buy 17 cameras, you know, go in and get 5 or 6, whatever you can afford, and then go from there. You know, add a few more on the following year, and that, but do not go out and spend on 17. Because, I mean, we got to look at a lot of things. We have to look at not only the quality of the cameras and what they're capturing, and that, but we also have to look at the software, and that, what do we really want to have done with these cameras? And that, so, I mean, so there's a lot of information that we need to work through, and that's why I thought that we were going to be starting to look, just to have a better idea of what the cameras are doing. You know, is this, because when we go out for a spec, I mean, when we go out for the RFP and that, we want to know the quality of the camera already, as far as, okay, this company can do it, maybe this company can't do it, what we're looking for. And that, so it's not only the cameras, but it's also the software and what we're really looking to have those cameras do.
So
Should this be a 2-step process to get the cameras in, look at them, and start the definition process that you're talking about now?
Well, that's what I was hoping that we were going to be doing. I thought we were moving forward, at least getting the testing of the cameras from the different companies. And other companies can come in too, as far as the testing of the cameras, and then do the RFP. And, I mean, that's way the chief knows, as well as Mike knows, as far as, okay, these cameras, the information, the software, the information coming back to the village. Can we also share these cameras with other villages and get feedback from them as well? And as far as what they're receiving, share that information. And so there's a lot of information out there that we need to really capture, and I think we got to start somewhere. And right
Yeah, and the
now-
nice thing now for the timing of this is we'll be able to view all 3 vendors that want to put these cameras out all at the same time. Not
Right.
rather have one now and then 2 weeks later have another one set up. We'll be able to check them all 3
So,
out at the same
Steve,
time.
I believe you had the vendors in to show the software, and we were able to see it on a screen, right?
Right.
But there is a difference if you actually have it in front of you and you can control the mouse, right?
Right.
So that's part of that
Sure.
learning by using
Absolutely.
the system.
The zoom in, the quality, the nighttime.
Sean, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand what the purpose of, fine-tuning what we're trying to decide tonight. Is it just to allow you to say, I want to put out these test cameras at these locations for the next 30 days so you can get a better handle as to what you think we need in this village?
Exactly. I want to see which camera's the best for our needs.
No, but tonight, what we were talking about, what's on the agenda is the RFP. The evaluation of the cameras was a process that started a couple months ago that we first started talking about doing that. So I think the technical answer to your question is no, we're talking about the RFP. The test systems or the evaluation of the cameras is a component to the project, but not about the RFP.
But how can we put out an RFP if he doesn't have the information that he's
Well,
looking for?
part of the RFP is that each proposal shall provide and install a demonstration kit, cameras and software, for at least a week-long period so that we can evaluate it.
Okay.
So we were kind of jumping the gun. We're doing two things simultaneously, and with the RFP, we're saying formally, you got to give us a camera and software to evaluate, or at least one camera and software to evaluate, so that we can figure out what is best for the village.
And we've got 3 that have done that,
The 3 that want to.
that want to.
Right.
But, and Sean, my understanding of the RFP as written is it's, I don't know if vague enough is the right answer, but it's not specific to one vendor. So it's, here's what we want, as John said, to get a car going 45 miles an hour at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. It's not, you have to have so much resolution that one vendor may have and another vendor may not have, right? So it's generic enough to allow multiple companies to submit their proposal.
Just for my clarification, so this isn't to judge the cameras that are put out there by the vendors, but to allow us to make a more measured judgment in terms of what we want. So wouldn't it seem to me that we need to do that before we even issue the RFP?
But the RFP is the statement of this is what we want to do, and the proposers or the people who want to submit cameras are going to know what the playing field is.
But I thought that was going to help us.
Well, no, you want to do it at the same time, because the RFP is the RFP. Now, whether or not we do the test cameras or not, these people are still going to put in an RFP. They're going to want our business. We're going to be smarter when it comes, because we've heard a couple negatives about one of the camera companies, especially at nighttime on their cameras. So we want to see that. We want to see if it's an issue or not.
But won't
So-
that help inform us in terms of what you want in the RFP? No?
No, not really. It's just their cameras. It's just the cameras that they use. Everybody has their own camera system. They have their own technology. We're not going to be putting in, we want a camera with, I don't know tech speak, but we're not going to put specifications for the cameras, I don't believe.
We're not ready specifically to channel one vendor, that we like vendor A instead of vendor B. So we're gonna direct that proposal with the specs that only A can meet.
But
Leaving it to everybody.
after the research that you've done, the visits that you've gone to other communities, when we get the test systems in, you may have a favorite that you like.
Oh, absolutely.
And you may have the same favorite, or you may have different, but that's the evaluation criteria, is we look at the cost, we look at how the support, all the many things, because using the camera is one thing, but you have to, quality of RFP response documents, right? How mature is the company, if you will, right? So,
I mean, just a quick reference point, real quick, just maybe this is easy. One camera company, most camera companies, they have the solar power in case, if it's bad, if we got a battery-operated camera and the batteries go down, they go dead. I'm sorry, the solar power goes bad, we got cloudy days, they have battery backup if the cameras go down. 3 or 4 of the companies, their batteries are good for 3 days. The battery backup, and they'll run the cameras for 3 days while the solar regenerates. One of the other companies has a 3-week solar power that they have. It's all military specifications, military grade, and if we got gloomy winter days and the solar isn't kicking in, they got a 3-week program. So it's things like that that help us to educate ourselves so we can make the best decision for the village. As I said, one of the camera companies is getting some bad ratings on their nighttime camera, but we want to see that. So they may come in at the lowest bid, but do we want to have cameras that aren't capturing all the nighttime images? So we're just educating ourselves on the different cameras and camera companies up there. The RFPs and who you guys decide that you finally want to go with, that's up to you.
well, with your input are up to
Right,
you, and we
right.
bless it, or whatever the term is, but it's not
Exactly.
up
That's
to
not what
us.
we're doing tonight.
No, we're just approving this document to go out into the world.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, we want to be able to capture we want to be able to take the data and to be able to share it with other communities. And
Yes,
that-
that's always, with all of it, we can do that. Whether it's internally in the same system or externally, two different systems, we can still share. That's not a problem.
And that, well, I've heard differently that that could be a problem as far as being able to share. If they don't.
Not the video itself, but in documented email, documented forms on crime blasts, crime alerts, pictures,
yes,
things like
absolutely
that,
that
is
way,
what I'm
yes.
saying, yeah.
But you're saying some systems are more integrated, because if our neighbor
Exactly.
has exactly the same system that we buy, it's a little easier than if we
Right,
have
because we
two
can
different-
share, we could share with Western Springs, we could share with Hinsdale, we could share with Countryside, as long as all the systems do integrate with one another and they accept our.
And I think these guys will get some feel how important that sharing is. It may be very important, or it may be once a year that we want to share. I don't know.
Well, I mean, talking to the other communities, they like to share on a daily basis as far as what's happening within the communities or certain cars going through their communities, and that it's not something that's once a year, that they do it on a daily basis. sharing that information.
Earlier on, when you were running the committee, Brenda, there was a conversation in regards to a request for information rather than an RFP in terms of gathering these kinds of things that you're talking about in terms of the software and the sharing and the battery backup on that, so that when we put out an RFP, we can be more specific in regards to those. And I'm more interested in your comments in regards to, do you think we have enough definition in the RFP
Why,
to
I
make
mean,
it worthwhile?
We keep talking about the cameras and that, but we're not talking about the software. And that, where is it going to be stored? Is it going to be in a cloud? I mean, so there is more information that we need, and that it's just not the cameras. I mean, some of the cameras, they can capture cars. Maybe they might be able to capture 80 cars going through, where another camera could capture 90 and that. So, I mean, so there's that percentages of that as well. But the other things that are really important to me, for myself and for the village, is we also need to focus on some of the software, and that where is everything going to be stored? How is it going to be handled? And then also too, as far as sharing the information, because I don't want the information just to be held here in Indian Head Park. I want to be able to share it with the other following, the police departments within the other villages as well. And that's so, do I have all the information? I personally don't, because I haven't been able to talk to Mike and to the chief the last couple of weeks, and that, because they've been very busy, and that, but maybe they have received more information these past 2 weeks than I had before.
And won't that be part of the submittal as well?
Yes,
of the RFPs? They're going to
absolutely.
have to describe what that software is, and that can be
Well,
evaluated.
I think that needs to be part of it within that RFP, absolutely.
And I think Trustee Donnersberger used a good word earlier, which is process. And I think that was part of the reason that this was on the agenda as well, was for a discussion like this, so that if test cameras are going to be installed, that everybody's on the same page with that, so that when you start getting calls from the residents about what's going on, you all know and know the answer to that question, right? And then secondarily was, assuming that that is a yes, right, then if it's going to go on parallel tracks with the issuance of the RFP, what are the concerns and what are, and so software, sharing information, so taking notes and making sure that that's going to be part of the RFP. But I think that process, that kind of reasoned way to approach this is what we're wanting to hear tonight. So that's, I think, as long as everybody's on the same page with that, so that you all know that when you start seeing some test cameras go up, you all know what's going on, right? And then secondarily, if you're okay with the RFP, then I think you can start to drill down on that detail in terms of the vendors and what they're able to provide in terms of both cameras and software.
So, Steve, I think you said you and Mike went out and you have an updated map, different numbers, so it's the same map but different dots maybe. Other than that, are you comfortable with the RFP, you gentlemen?
Yes, that's above my pay grade. I've looked at it, though. I didn't see any issues or anything like that.
And I
But
did-
I don't
I
have a
did
lot of
take-
experience with RFPs, to be honest with
And I
you.
did take into consideration your comments and Mike's comments.
Yeah,
in
but
the-
I
in
saw
the-
no issues or any red flags or anything in it.
So I didn't have a chance, and I do apologize in advance that I didn't have a chance to really go over the RFP, but is it clearly defined as far as the functionality that we're going to need, as well as far as the criteria for the cameras and the software?
Yes.
And it does, I just highlight just at page, I think it's page 5, I think it's page 5 of the, but what I'm looking at in B, when the proposal has to include a detailed explanation of the material elements, and the first B1 is service levels for software systems, response time, that sort of thing. So again, that is part of it, and to the extent we need more information or require further information, we could always ask as well. So but they are to provide that sort of detail.
And John, this document, you had looked at other municipalities to pull the best from what other municipalities have done. Is that correct?
And the main thing is, I created a specification that doesn't single out one company. I want to have multiple companies give us proposals. Yeah, I can write the Flock proposal, and Flock will be the only company bidding.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think that serves the village.
Thank you.
I think having it loose enough on whether or not, and I prefer cloud-based personally. There are a number of reasons why I think it's far more secure, but that does lock us into a company. But the specifications are generic enough that pretty much every reputable company can meet or exceed those specifications.
Can I ask one more question? If anybody, whether the police officers or you, Brenda, have looked at some of the larger municipalities like Chicago or the county, or, not just the suburbs around us, I'm wondering what they use?
No, I
Well, one of the vendors
don't know how
had
to go to Chicago to check with
the
somebody.
state of Illinois cameras, right? They had 100 cameras on their dot in the Chicagoland area, right? I forget which one. I don't have that note handy, but, so yes, we did, I think each vendor that came and talked to the committee showed their installation base in the area or around.
Yeah, Illinois State Police, they use Vigilant, and that Hinsdale is using Vigilant, but they are also using Flock, and that to see which, do they want to get more Flock cameras, or do they want to get more Vigilant cameras?
Burr Ridge is using Flock.
Yep.
About specific vendors, I'm just wondering what the universe is out there and what the state of the art is and where we would fall within that.
Well, I think they all have state-of-the-art cameras, but they just have their own version of the state-of-the-art. They're all, and every one of them, if there's upgrades, if there's improvements, if we're into a 5-year deal and we're 3 years into it and a new camera comes out that's a much better technology, most of them will come out and replace all those cameras free of charge. They stay upgraded. That's part of the package as well.
Okay, I guess trying to wrap up, other questions? Charlie, Brenda, any comments? All right, so are we all thumbs up on this RFP, which sounds like then that can go out and John will work on the test systems and get that rolling? Is that?
Yep.
And who are you sending these to?
We're
What
going to send
companies?
them to every company that has expressed interest. I've got one other company on my desk, and we will post it on our website. And if somebody, and we will also run a notice in the paper because it is a large purchase. Pretty much any company that has approached us or that we are aware of will get it, and we will have it on our website and in a newspaper.
Can you just name a few of the companies so that way the audience would know?
Flock,
That we're dealing with already?
go ahead.
Well, we've got Vigilant, we've got Minuteman, we've got Flock, we've got Proven IT, and,
CBS.
oh, yes, yeah. Oh, Monarch, I got a company called Monarch. So we got about 5, is that 5 maybe so far?
But I'm going to go out on a limb and say the first 4 you mentioned have the lion's share of the
Yeah,
market.
they've been the
in
ones
this
most
country.
interested and come out and really want our business. And put up nice, they came out and gave us nice presentations and that, so.
Okay, we all good?
One of the things is that once these come in, we have a committee that Brenda chairs on that, and I would imagine that she would be an integral part of reviewing these cameras as well, and the people on that committee. Would that be a correct statement?
Yes.
Thank you.
All good?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we are up to reports, trustees report. Start with Eileen.
Okay, I know I have it in my head. Okay, so economic development, I have a couple of people coming out next week to give us estimates on getting new facade for the strip mall up in the Triangle. So we'll see what they come in at. The owner is on board with at least getting the estimates. The estimates will be free, and thank you to the Illinois Municipal League, because that's where I got the referrals. Passion is one company, and I can't remember who the other one is, so they'll come out and give us some free estimates. Then we'll be meeting next week, I think it is, with the Economic Development Committee. But I did want to, if you don't mind, and indulge me for a moment. I don't know if those of you here know, but last Monday, a week ago, Monday the 4th, was Indigenous People Day. And I know that because I got an alert on my phone. My phone tells me everything. I didn't know what Indigenous People Day was, so I had to look it up, and I found out that it's meant to celebrate and honor Native American peoples and to commemorate their histories, their cultures, and their traditions, which got me thinking, since we're trustees in Indian Head Park, which is named after the indigenous people of America, misnamed because Columbus thought he was in India, but that's another story. So I looked up some of the tradition of the Potawatomi, who we all know were here. And the Potawatomi, like other indigenous people, one of their strong traditions was that land, like life, is sacred. Land is what ensures continuity because it's not only where our ancestors once lived, but where future generations will be born. I agree with the Native Americans. I value our land. And I think we're really important here in Indian Head Park. We're really fortunate, rather, because unlike other suburbs, Indian Head Park has worked for years to ensure that our village remains respectful of the land and we keep nature's beauty around us. And I would argue our village is open, it's lovely, it's beautiful, and restful. We're surrounded by trees and bushes and flowers, and we don't have, to the chagrin of some, many, if any, fences. But that didn't happen by accident. Many generations before us, those people on the board that came before us, and people that lived in the village worked to keep it that way. So now it's our turn. And those of us on the board, we know we have many important decisions coming up in the next several months or a year. The possible widening of Wolf Road and Plainfield Road, the possible installation of sidewalks and bike paths, and probably more decisions on Acacia Circle. But as we make those decisions on those projects, I'd like for all of us to remain committed to the vision of the Native Americans who once lived here and to the predecessors that preceded us in these very chairs to keep and maintain the beauty of our village. Even as we move our village forward, and we need to move it forward, we should find ways to work hard to ensure that our residents and those who pass through our wonderful home remain surrounded by its natural beauty. And I believe we can do both. I believe we can move forward, but we can also keep the natural beauty of our village. It that's why I wrote it out. It may not always be easy, but we can do it if we all share the vision and work together. I'd like for us to be remembered as the board who worked to keep the beauty of our village intact.
Thank you. Sean?
from Public Works, a couple of things that we've got in the pipeline and some things that are going on right now and some things that are wrapping up. First of all, street signs. We met with a street sign expert and let them know that we're out of compliance with our street signs. And we started getting, looking at getting some samples for having to replace the street signs that we have at different intersections and whatnot throughout the village. So as soon as we have those samples, I think the plan is we're going to have them at Public Works for people to come out and view and try to get some info. Oh, we're going to have them here?
Have them here.
Okay, great. So look for that coming. 2021 road program is wrapping up. Just some stone shoulder work and crack sealing to do. But other than that, we'll put a bow on that for this year. To, I think, piggyback what Trustee Donnersberger was just talking about, tree and shrubbery planting at Black Hawk Park and other locations in town. I ran into Justin and Don this morning. They were planting a tree in a neighbor's property, taking one down and replanting one. And he showed me a sample of what they're going to be doing in Black Hawk Park here around the gazebo. And the mock-up looked wonderful. So I'm excited to see when that comes out. They're also doing pruning and treatments for the winter preparation. And currently, they are working on the Tree City application once again. So look for that to hopefully get thumbs up that we've gotten before. That's it.
Thank you, Sean. Chris?
Just the coffee and donuts with the mayor at the Heritage Center, correct, Tom?
Correct.
Heritage
30,
Center,
August, I mean, not August,
October 30th.
October.
9 to 11?
That is correct.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Brenda?
I just want to thank everybody for the movie in the park on September 25th. It was a big success. It was probably the largest group of people that we've had at an event. So we'd like to thank C-SPAR. Eileen was there. The mayor was there helping out, as well as Rita and that. But it was a great success, and we look forward to having a couple more movies next year. And the next big event for the village will be the reindeers in December.
Do you think we got more people than the Easter egg hunt? Or most, the biggest movie?
It was, well, we did have a lot of kids at the Easter egg hunt, but probably the largest group as far as the movies went.
Yep.
Yep.
It was a great turnout in any event. Thank you.
It was a beautiful night. Perfect.
Other items?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, on the Communications Committee, we've been working with Andy on a village-wide survey that's going to go out to the residents about a host of issues about living in the village and how they feel about things and how they are and what can be improved. And that will probably be included in the November edition of Smoke Signals. So I ask all the residents to please respond, and because that helps us know what the residents think and what they want to see.
Rita, is the survey something the board could see before it goes?
Sure, I have no problem with that. Andy's been working very hard on the draft, and we've given him our input from the committee, so.
Yeah, I believe the board has seen it before in weekly updates from John, but it's something the Communications Committee has been looking at for the last 2 meetings, and
Okay.
we're ready to go. We
I think it's a couple months ago maybe, right? Or it wasn't recent?
yeah, it was a couple months ago, I
Okay.
think, and then it went to the Communications. So.
Thank you. Charlie?
Mayor, the Planning and Zoning Committee met on October 5th. It was a relatively brief meeting. We talked about the Joliet Road project, the 2-story building that was approved by the board. That was a brief conversation. More substantive was the discussion of implementation of the ordinance related to sheds, particularly as it relates to Bartlett Homes. And staff indicated that they were going to be sending out communications to those residents that had sheds that did not have zoning taken care of. My understanding is that's already been put in the mail, and that they're in the process of addressing that at this point in time. And so that process was discussed at the meeting. Also, Andy talked a little bit about a planning and zoning training workshop for those that are in planning and zoning, and Andy's going to be getting some information out to us on that at a later time. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Can I go back to the survey, Rita or Andy? Is that in smoke signals online, one or the other, both? What's the thought?
I get that's in my report a little too.
Okay,
You
very
want,
good.
If you want me to.
Well, I'll wait. Thank you. All right, village clerk, anything to report? Thank you. Village treasurer is not here. Village attorney?
No formal report. We'll be seeking a closed session later in the meeting.
Thank you. Village administrator?
So if you go on our website, on the very front page, on the left-hand side, you will see village goals. Click on that link, and then the following link, it will take you to a page where you will have a little speedometer for all of the goals that we had approved in the village budget. It's just a quick update of where we stand. So there's a little needle that shows where we are in the goal process. So one of them was the recycling day. So that peg is all the way over in the completed area. For the security cameras, we will be moving that peg to the bidding phase, probably Monday. So it's a quick snapshot of where we are with our goals, so please look at it. And since we've had some new staff added, and we're changing around duties in the office, we're going to be having some staff training tomorrow. So Village Hall, the admin side, will be closed to the public tomorrow so we can do training. That is the extent of my report.
Thank you. Andy?
Yeah, I'll say one thing really quick about the goals page is, so our plan is to update it after every board meeting, so monthly. And then the few things I have to report, first for building permits, we issued 9 new permits in September, which brought in roughly $3,200 in building permit fee revenues. Another thing is leaf vacuuming. This is going to be the second year of our leaf vacuuming program with the waste franchise agreement with SBC. And the leaf vacuuming dates will be November 1st, November 15th, and November 29th. So every other Monday in November will be kind of the start collection days. It may take more than one day to vacuum up all the leaves in town. We have a lot of trees. So I would just ask residents, if the leaves don't get vacuumed on that Monday or even that Tuesday, you probably haven't been skipped. It's probably just taking a little longer. But those dates are available on our website and also in the October edition of the Smoke Signals, which residents should be receiving soon if they have not already. And then the one other thing I'll mention is the community survey that Trustee Farrell Mayer talked a little bit about. So the survey will be available as a physical copy that will be sent out in the November smoke signals. And it will have a prepaid envelope with it so that people can mail it back. They can also, residents can also just drop it off at Village Hall or the silver drop box outside. And we also are going to have an online version that will be up on our social media and our website. And that will actually be going live on Monday next week. And then we're going to have a close date for the survey being December 3rd, which is the first Friday in December. So that'll give people a month and a half with the online one to fill it out, and closer to a month on the physical copy. And the survey is very comprehensive, covers all the village departments, covers transportation, recreation, demographic information. We really just want to get a pulse on the heartbeat of the community and to find out what's going well and also what we can do better. So we're very excited about that and really looking forward to the results. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Department heads, finance, Helia.
Hey, Helia, before you start, can I ask Andy a question on the survey? Are people able to go on as many times as they want online?
No, so the way we have the setting online is the only requirement is your email, and so it limits it to once per an email.
But they could, will we be checking if somebody also drops one off as well, as has one online?
We will. We'll scan for it. I mean,
So we're gonna try to limit it, obviously. To,
yeah,
so
we're
one or two
and
per
it's
household.
exact. And we state in the survey, we ask that one per household. So
Thank you for waiting.
You're welcome. Thank you. I just wanted to give everyone a snapshot of where our bank balance currently is at.
David, can you put up the last slide? Thank you.
Thank you. When I started in May of 2016, our bank balance was $1.4 million. At the end of September, our bank balance now is $3.4 million, an increase of about $2 million, which is 143%. And part of the increase was due to the sale of the property, which is $510,000, the CARES Act money that we received. We had budgeted to spend that money, but we were reimbursed $115,000. And we just received the American Rescue Plan money, which was $252,000. So we have a surplus of cash of $877,000. So our net increase is $1.1 million. While we still continue to maintain 4 months of our operating budget, which is $1.4 million, so our current excess cash on hand is $1.1 million, and that money is going to be earmarked for capital projects. And obviously, as we're spending money, we have a lot of projects that are being completed this month, and we will be spending some of that money in the upcoming month. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any
Ask a
questions?
question?
Chris?
If I remember right, a while back, we invested a small amount of money, so more of a symbolic gesture than anything. Are we still doing that?
So the money that, we did move it out of the money market because that CD, because the money market was earning more money. So now they're currently in money market accounts. It's still earning interest.
Okay, nothing substantial, but it's better than nothing.
Not yet, correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on the agenda is public comments. Any public comments? Okay, would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn to closed session.
And could you state the purposes, please?
I'm not sure. Thank you. To review closed session minutes.
Can you turn on your, sorry, Rita.
Closed session to review of closed session minutes pursuant to 5 ILCS 120. Let me put my glasses on. Sorry. 120/2 sub C 21 collective bargaining. 5 ILCS 120/2 C2 and personnel. 5 ILCS 120/2 C1.
Thank you, Rita. And Brenda, thank you. That can be a voice vote, correct, Pat?
No, roll call.
Roll call?
Did we want to note the time at 8:28?
Thank you.
Okay.
Takes a village.
Trustee Farrell Mayor. Aye. Trustee O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Metz.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's been approved. We'll take a minute break and start closed session.